We're going to just get right into it. So turn to Revelation chapter 1, verse 19. I know some of this you've already heard, and it's good to have the review, and then there's going to be some new things that you'll learn, and I believe that this will be really helpful in our study of the book of Revelation. So we already know the divine outline. Divine outline of the book of Revelation is chapter 1, verse 19, correct. Now, verse 1 does tell us a lot, too. Tells us what the book is about. In fact, verse 1 says, the revelation of who? Jesus Christ. This book is about Jesus. If you want to try and find all kind of secret numbers and prophecy and all that, you're going to find there's a lot of prophecy here. But what you're really going to see is Jesus Christ. And this is the revealing, the unveiling of Jesus Christ as he is the Lion of the tribe of Judah that comes to rule and reign. So the revelation of Jesus Christ. Now, verse 19 is where you're going to see the outline. The divine outline. Don't let anybody tell you that you cannot understand the book of Revelation. There is a group of Christianity, a lot of Protestant churches and Christians that are what we'd call all millennialists, and they take the book of Revelation to be an allegory. They don't take it straightforward. And we are premillennialists, and that means that we believe in a literal millennial reign. So you could just take the book at face value, and it is easy to dissect because the outline is given to us. So the outline, he says to write down the things which thou hast seen. That's chapter 1. Because Jesus Christ, he already died, he was already buried, and he rose again. And in John's day, this had already happened. Jesus Christ, he came to this earth, born of a virgin, lived a sinless life, ministered for 3.5 years, then went to the cross and he was crucified. He died, he was buried, and he rose again. That had already happened in John's day. So he says, write down the things which you have seen. He sees Jesus Christ in his resurrected state. That's the things which thou hast seen. That's chapter 1. Then he says, and the things which are. Right? During John's day, he was living in the church age. This is the age of the church. It began at Pentecost, and it's going to end at the rapture. So that's the things which are. Has the rapture happened yet? So we are still in that time period. We are in the church age. So he says, write down the things which are. The things which you've seen. Jesus died, buried, rose again, ascended into heaven, sitting at the right hand of God. And the things which are the church age. And then in chapters 2 and 3, you're going to see the letters to the 7 churches of Asia Minor. That's Turkey. There's more churches than this at that time, but there were 7 churches that were selected because it kind of followed along a postal route, and also these churches were prophetic. There was a message prophetically that was given to these churches. And we studied chapters 2 and 3 in a little bit detail, and took us kind of a little bit of a while. We weren't able to necessarily cover chapter 2 in one sitting. We kind of just mostly went by according to each church, which I was trying to avoid that, but there's just so much information. So you see that the letters to the churches, and in chapters 2 and 3, you see the word church 19 times. It's about the church. We are living in the church age. The church age began when? At Pentecost. Now, not everybody believes that, because a lot of people are wrong. But it begins at Pentecost. Okay? And it ends at what event? At the rapture. So did the rapture happen yet? No. So we are still in the church age. Remember the prophecy of Daniel, the 70 weeks? You have the 70th week, which is the tribulation period. The tribulation period happens after the rapture. There's a gap in time between the 69th and the 70th week. We believe that to be the church age. We're living in the church age. The rapture will conclude the church age. That's the things which are. Where are you now? Church age. Chapters 2 and 3 is all about the church. And the letters are to the churches. And in these letters, just quickly, they're to be applied locally to that particular church. It's also to be applied ecclesiastically, which means information for all churches. To study, to do a study of the church, there's a lot of information that would help you learn a lot about the church. A lot of church information is in these letters. They're also to be applied personally. He that hath ears to hear, let him hear what the Spirit said unto the churches. Now, after chapters 2 and 3, you have chapter 4. Chapter 4 begins with, come up hither. So we believe that the church is raptured, and so in chapter 4, you're not going to see the church, you're not going to hear about the church anymore. The word church is used 19 times in chapters 2 and 3. Is it used in chapter 4? No. Is it used at all ever again in the book of Revelation? No. The church is raptured. You're not going to 19 times in chapters 2 and 3. Never. That's a good indication to me already that the church is already taken out. And then it says, he that hath ears to hear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. After chapter 4, verse 1, when the church is raptured, it's going to say, he that hath ears to hear, let him hear what the Spirit saith. Doesn't say what the Spirit saith unto the churches. Why? Because the church is raptured. Where is the church in chapter 4 and 5? In the throne room. That's easy to see to me. See it more clearly and more clearly. So the letters to the 7 churches, they're to be applied locally, ecclesiastically. Ecclesia, it means assembly. So it means, that's just a fancy word for saying the church, ecclesiastically. A lot of information to study about the church, and they are to be applied personally, and they are also prophetically, that each church is a prophetic time period in church history. Ephesus is the first century church. Then Smyrna, the persecuted church during the time that they were persecuted from all the Roman emperors. Pergamus, with Constantine, the marriage of the church to the state. Thyatira, continuous sacrifice. The predominance of the Roman Catholic Church. Sardis, the Reformation church, but they got out of the mother church. Philadelphia, the church of brotherly love, the revived church, and they got the gospel out. Laodicea, the people's rights, the worldly church. We want to do what we want to do. And that's kind of the way it is in a lot of churches today. The Laodicean age. So, you see those letters to the 7 churches and how they are prophetically. Also, the letters follow a basic pattern, positive affirmation, something Jesus says something nice to them, then corrective exhortation, something that needs to change, then eternal motivation, how does it affect eternity? That's how when you're discipling, we need to let people know that. The only thing that matters is what we do for the Lord, because it affects eternity. If what we're doing is not affecting eternity, it basically is a waste of time when you look at it in the grand scheme of things. But what you and I do that affects eternity is worthwhile. Why? Because it lasts. Philadelphia, the church of brotherly love, Laodicea, the people's rights. So there are 2 churches that nothing is negative said. Nothing is negative about the church. That's Smyrna and Philadelphia. Why? Because the church at Smyrna was persecuted, so it purifies the church, because no fake Christian is going to hang around for persecution. And then the church of brotherly love, the church that got the message out. So there is usually something positive, something to correct them, but those 2 churches didn't have anything to correct them. Eternal motivation, and then partial revelation as Jesus reveals himself to each church. And then also the names of the city relate to the message, which is amazing how this is all written and put together. Only God could do that. Even the names of the city has to do with the message that Jesus is giving them. And the way that Jesus reveals himself, he reveals himself appropriately concerning the need of that church. So there's a lot in chapters 2 and 3 about the church. So then after the church, after 2 and 3, which is the church, we go back to our outline in Revelation 1, verse 19, and it says, write the things which thou hast seen, that's chapter 1, the things which are, chapter 2 and 3, church age, and then it says the things which shall be hereafter. That's future. So that's after what? The rapture. because the rapture concludes the church age. See, if you're premillennial and pre-tribulation, the book of Revelation makes so much sense. Because if you're not premillennial, you can just throw everything what I just said out the window. Because it's all like, this is, if you are premillennial and pre-tribulation, it's like looking at a picture. It just makes sense, right? If you are all millennial or post-millennial, you say, what does that mean? Don't really worry about what it means. Just worry about this. If you're all millennial, you believe in this would be abstract. You know, abstract art? When you're looking at something, you're like, what is that? It doesn't mean make sense, right? You ever see abstract art? That's the all millennial view of Revelation. No make sense. When you are looking at an abstract art, when you're looking at abstract art, you ever see abstract artists when they paint something? You're like, what is that? I could have done that. No make sense. It's what you want it to be. It's what it's what you want it to be. Now that's how the all millennial view, for the most part, is whatever you want it to be. It can mean anything, and it's really actually not whatever you want it to be. It's whatever the smart guy says it means. Whatever the real educated guy says it means. And that's why they say don't study Revelation. You can't really. It's for the real educated, scholarly guy. Dr. So-and-so. Well, you know what, Dr. So-and-so? I don't need to know what you have to say about it, because I can read it myself, and the Holy Spirit's going to tell me what it means. I just have to take it straight from the Scriptures. That's the premillennial, the pre-tribulation view, especially if you're... Now, you don't have to be pre-tribulation to be premillennial. There are some people that are mid-trib. All that means is they believe the church is going to go through part way of the tribulation. A post-trib believe they're going to go through the whole tribulation period. That the church is going to go through all the way through the tribulation period, which I guess when Jesus comes, you're going to go up in the rapture, right back down. Shoot, shoot. Hopefully you don't get whiplash. We like to make fun of people that believe differently, yeah, but really a lot of them have their reasons why they're that way. Not to make fun of anybody that's pre-trib, premillennial, but pre-trib or mid-trib or post-trib. But when you're all millennial and preterist, you even got to change the date when the book was written. You can't just do that, by the way, because they're saying everything has already been fulfilled, so they got to move the date from AD 95 or 96, which I'm sure most of your Bibles probably date it. What do you got a date for it? You got a date on yours for the book of Revelation? Anybody got a date in their Bible? 90 to 96, that's premillennial. And all millennial going to say, you're going to have to say before AD 90, right? Because they had to move the whole date. You can't just move a date, by the way. Anyway, we're not trying to get into that. So don't tempt me. So now you got the outline, right? You got chapter 1, the things which thou hast seen. You got chapter 2, 2 and 3, the things which are, and in chapter 4 through 22, the things which shall be hereafter. So after you have chapter 2 and 3, which is the church age, chapter 4 is the rapture. So the church is raptured, right? So chapter 4 and 5, where's the church? In the throne room. And you see that clearly, right? You clearly see the church in the throne room. Listen to this verse. Revelation chapter 5, in verse 9. And they sung a new song, saying, Thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof, for thou wast slain and hast redeemed us to God by thy blood out of every kindred, tongue, and people and nation, and hast made us unto our God kings and priests, and we shall reign on the earth. Does that not sound like the church? That's the church in heaven, worshiping the Lamb. Who's the Lamb? Jesus Christ. How can someone say Jesus Christ is not God when he's being worshipped on the throne? And he's the Alpha and the Omega. So chapter 4 and 5, the church, rapture chapter 4 and 5 is in heaven, in the throne room. And meanwhile, back at the ranch, while the church is in the throne room, on the earth, you begin the tribulation period. beginning with the opening of the seven sealed scroll, right? So that's chapter 6 through 22, which is the remainder part of, I'm sorry, chapter 4 through 22, which is the remainder part of that outline in chapters 1, verse 19. And it says, the things which shall be hereafter. After what? After what? After the church, which is going to conclude at the what? Rapture. That's why he says, after these things. That's future. Some people say, nothing in the Revelation. That's not future. What we're reading about is already happened. It's already passed. Huh? It says, after these things. If you're pre-trib, pre-millennial, it's easy to see. This is future. From chapter 4 on is future. Okay? So chapter 4, rapture. 4 and 5, churches in heaven, in the throne room. And while the tribulation is going down here on the earth, then we as a church are going to be at the judgment seat of Christ, receiving the rewards. And then we're going to celebrate at the marriage supper of the Lamb. And then we're going to come back down with Jesus to rule and reign. But before that happens, what chapter does that have? Well, we'll go in order. So chapters 4 and 5, church in heaven. Chapter 6, you see the seven sealed scroll. And you see the judgments begin from chapter 6 to chapter 19. Chapter 19, what happens? The battle of Armageddon and the return of Jesus Christ. We return with him in chapter 19 at the end of the battle of Armageddon. We don't fight. We're spectators. We come back with him, riding on white horses. And he is the rider leading us on a white horse, and he has a sword. Not like the rider on the white horse in Revelation chapter 6 that had a bow. Jesus Christ has a sword, and he destroys the armies are gathered together to fight against each other. But they actually start to turn their aggression against Israel, and then they turn their aggression to Jesus, and he wipes them all out at the battle of Armageddon. That is in chapter 19. Then after that, and then the beast, who's the beast? The Antichrist. Who's the false prophet? He's the false prophet. Who's the dragon? Satan. So the beast and the false prophet, at the end of chapter 19, we see that they're cast into the lake of fire. And what happens to the devil? He's chained up in the bottomless pit for 1,000 years. And in chapter 20, we see the what? The millennial kingdom. The millennial kingdom. That's lasts for 1,000 years. By the way, the all-millennial people are not going to believe that's a literal 1,000-year reign. And it's very odd that it's not a literal reign. It's like, can mean whatever, right? Whatever you want it to be. No, whatever the smart guy thinks it means, right? That's why it should not be called revelation. Revelation means the unveiling, not the hiding. So only the smart guy knows. So I'm just trying to emphasize that so we can learn. I'm not trying to belittle anybody who's an all-millennial person out there. Sorry, no offense, okay? Okay, so in chapter 4 and 5, and you can follow us on the handout. So chapter 6 through 19 deals with the tribulation period. And the tribulation period will do three things. It will shake up the heathen, wake up a nation, Israel, and make up the millennium, the millennial kingdom. So chapter 20 is the millennial reign. Satan will be bound 1,000 years, and then he will be released at the end of the 1,000-year period. And some people are going to have the opportunity. There are going to be people that are born during the millennial kingdom, because some people are going to survive the tribulation. They're going to get into the millennial kingdom in their non-glorified bodies. And then they're going to have children that never had an opportunity to be tempted by the devil. They're going to have that opportunity at the end of the 1,000 years, and many will follow the devil. And then you're going to have the last and final conflict, and then after that, that's it. And at the end of the millennial kingdom, the Bible says that the dragon, the devil, is going to be sent to the lake of fire, where the beast and the false prophet, who are men, humans where they still are. Some people believe that the fires of hell is just going to consume people. If that's the case, then why are the beast and the false prophet, after 1,000 years, still in there? Answer that one. So then chapters 21 and 22, you see the new heavens and the new earth. If I got a new car, but if I came to church with a 2013 Ultima with a new used engine and a smashed bumper, and I spray painted it, and I said, I got a brand new car, and you looked out there and saw that, would you think that's a new car? But it's got a new engine, well, a new used engine. Is that a new car? Well, when God says there's going to be a new heavens and a new earth, is there at some point going to be a new heavens and a new earth, or are you just going to spray paint this one? There's going to be a new heavens and a new earth, and there's going to be some new stuff. Okay, so now we begin. That didn't even count. That was just review. Okay, now we get into the part I wanted to teach. Just really learn a lot of this. We're going to learn grammar today. I'm a grammar expert. Me and Tiffany, we're experts in grammar. You're not expert grammar? Just pretend you are. I went public school too, but I went to Castle though. Yeah. Our public school is, I was in the, you got the CP class, AP class. I was in the EP class. It's excellent. Okay, grammar. Chapter 1 begins with the word the. That's the definite article introducing the subject. See? Grammar. When you learn Greek, you learn about all that kind of stuff, definite articles and this and that, okay? Yeah. Judy, go make coffee for us. Go make some coffee. We need coffee. The revelation of Jesus Christ. So the definite article introducing the subject. Okay, that's chapter 1. And by the way, that is the subject of the book. It's about Jesus Christ. Chapter 2 begins a new thought. So chapter 2 begins with the word unto. So that begins a new thought, and the chapter begins with the words unto. Now, in chapter 3 begins with the word and. Why? Because and is a conjunction, and it conjoins chapter 3 to 2, because both of them are the same. It's about the church. So you got the chapter 1, the definite article introducing the subject of the book, Jesus Christ. Now you have a new thought, and it's about the church, and chapters 2 and 3 are conjoined together by the word and. Then, chapter 4 begins with the words after this. So chapters 2 and 3 are linked together with the word and. Chapter 4 is future because it's after this. It's after the subject of chapters 2 and 3, the church. It's after the church because it's the rapture. There's a word that is in the outline, chapter 1, verse 19. In the Greek, it's called metatauta, and that means future. When it says in verse 19, write down the things which shall be hereafter. That's the word metatauta in the Greek. And so then in the Greek in chapter 4 is the same word. After this, metatauta, future. Okay? So now every other chapter is going to be conjoined to that thought. So in chapter 5, if it's conjoined to chapter 4 and it has to do with after, what is it going to have to start? What word is chapter 5 got to start with? And. Oh, you guys are smart. Chapter 6 is also conjoined to the thought of hereafter because it's future. And so chapter 6 is going to start with what word? And. Okay. Don't look. But chapter 7 is going to have to start with a word that's going to conjoin it with the thought of being in the future after this. What word is that? And. Chapter 8 is going to begin with what? And. Chapter 9 is going to begin with what word? Okay, let's just not waste too much time here. Chapter 22 is going to begin with what, James? And. Go backwards. Chapter 20 is going to begin with what word? Chapter 21, 14, 15, 17, 18. Got the point? Chapter 23. No more chapter 23. That's what happened to me in the book of Daniel. No, it was way worse, man. I said turn to, and I know there's no 13 chapters in Daniel. So I did that before. I never made the correction yet. I still hear about that from an individual, and I did it again. Man, I wish I could have repeated the whole morning. You know how embarrassing that is? And. So that's the grammar. Okay. You see how it works, though? It's so easy, right? One, here's the subject. Here's the new thought, the church. Here's the future. And everything is all future from that. That's why it all begins with and, to join it with the phrase after this. Okay, now, chronology. This is what's important. We'll do this quickly. The chronology. So from chapter 4 to chapter 22, there are 11 chapters that are chronological. You know what chronological is, right? It means it's in order. So this happens, then this, then this, then this, then this, then this, then this. There's a chronological flow from chapter 4 to chapter 22, but not all of the chapters are chronological. So right here, these are the list of the chapters that are chronological. 4 through 6, chronological. Chapters 8 and 9, chronological. Then chapters 15 and 16, chronological. Chapters 19 through 22. Those are the chronological chapters. We'll go through what each of those chapters is about. The rest of the chapters are commentaries. They explain some things, some of which happens in the chronological chapters. So, in the chronology from chapters 4 through 22, chapter 4 is about the rapture and, of course, the throne room. Chapter 5 is about the throne room, the Lamb being being worshipped by the church, which is in heaven. We see the church, chapter 5, verse 9 and 10. And then chapter 6 begins the sealed judgment. So that's all chronological. Chapter 8 and 9 is the trumpet judgments. Chapters 15 and 16 is the vial judgments. Chapter 19 is the battle of Armageddon and the return of Christ. Chapter 20 is the millennial kingdom. Chapter 21 and 22 is the new heavens and the new earth. That's the chronology. That's the chronological flow. Now, the commentary is the other chapters. And that's usually where people get kind of mixed up. So there's 11 chronological chapters, and there are 8 commentary chapters. So chapter 10 is about the little book. Of course, we're going to go through all of these chapters verse by verse, but just to let you know, the chapter is about the little book. Chapter 11 is about the 2 witnesses. Who are the 2 witnesses? Robert? Moses? And Elijah? That's what a lot of people, we don't know, but it seems like because of the miracles that they do, it seems like it's Moses and Elijah. Also, we know that Moses represents the law and Elijah represents the prophets. Now, what are some other people that some people say it may be the witnesses? Enoch and Elisha, right? No, I'm sorry. Right? Yeah. Enoch and Elisha. Why? Oh, no, Elijah. Yeah. Enoch and Elijah. Why would he say that? Because they never died. They've been raptured, right? They never really died. So, and the Bible says, as it is appointed unto men once to die, after this is judgment. So some people say it has to be them. But there's going to be a lot of people that's not going to die, right? They're going to be raptured. So I don't think it has to be. I think it's going to be Moses and Elijah. So chapter 7 is also a commentary chapter. and that has to do with the sealing of the 144,000. And that's not going to be the Jehovah's Witness. But there's a lot of groups, not just the Jehovah's Witness. There's a lot of groups that claim to have been the 144,000. And so that's not going to be those groups. These are, and what's so, I don't know how God could have made it any more straightforward about who the 144,000 is. He says that these are from the nation of Israel. Then he breaks it down by each tribe. Yeah. Yeah, and there are virgins too, right? But see, when you want to spiritualize the book of Revelation, this can become, I mean, if we spiritualize Revelation, we can say, oh, 144,000, that's Windward Baptist Church. That's what these groups did. I mean, what would you think if I said that? That's why we got to get more. We got to get more. That's probably why they did it. We got to get all the rest. Hey, but what if I said that? This is all of Windward Baptist Church. And yet these other groups got away with saying it, and no one questioned them. They just followed. You know why they follow him? I've asked them. He says, how can you read chapter 7 and pull this out that this is your group and not Jews? Because our teacher said, don't ever, please don't use that logic. Hey, is Jesus God? Yeah, Jesus is God. How do you know? Because Pastor Kevin said. If that's all you got, better learn why Jesus is God, so you don't say that. You got to know for yourself, right? That's not going to fly. Yeah, because Pastor Kevin said Jesus is God. Really? They're going to think, oh boy, another cult going on. You need to know what the Bible says. Okay, then chapter 10, the little book. Chapter 11, the two witnesses, probably Moses and Elijah. Chapter 12, Satan is cast out of heaven. We talked about that a little bit today, right? Chapter 13, the beast out of the sea and out of the earth. And then the infamous chapter of the mark of the beast that you cannot buy or sell if you do not have the mark. We're getting a little bitty taste of that, right? On the 13th, that those of you who haven't taken the vaccine won't get to eat at restaurants, right? Or go to the gym. No, I haven't taken it either, but. So we get a little bitty small taste. But imagine when you can't even buy or sell anything, and then they're going to be hunting you down, and then they're going to be decapitating those that won't receive the mark. This is nothing. This is just getting us to wake up to know that this technology about this mark of the beast is already the stage is being set. Oh, you know, it's funny, when I was preaching today, there was a major point I wanted to hit at the end, and I could not remember, and I just remembered it now. Oh, I just forgot it again. Oh, but just remembered it again. Okay, I'm going to bring it up at the end, okay? I really wanted to, I was even looking at my notes to try to jog my memory. That was my closing point, and I forgot it. No, I think I got it now. Seriously. I even went down to pray and just trying to look and remember, and I couldn't. You know, when God gives you a point, and you're like, oh, that's a good point. Should I say it? No, I'm going to wait to the end, and you forget. Okay, I'm going to bring it up. Remind me. The beast out of the sea and out of the earth and the mark of the beast. That's chapter 13. Then chapter 14, judgments pronounced upon Babylon. Not the judgment, just the pronouncing of it. And all those that took the mark of the beast. By the way, if you are not saved, and I trust that everyone in this room is, but if you are not saved or know anyone that's not saved, get this message out. If you are not saved and you're not raptured during the tribulation period, do not take the mark. No matter what pressure, because once you take the mark, that's it. There's no second chance after that. All those that take the mark of the beast will go to hell. So we see judgment pronounced upon Babylon and all those that take the mark of the beast. Then chapter 17 and 18 is the judgment upon Babylon. Chapter 17 is the fall of religious Babylon. Religious Babylon started where? The Tower of Babel, which was actually the city of Babylon. But then the religious system, as they build that tower to get into the heavens, man working his way to God, working his way to the heavens, his own way, defying God, Religious Babylon. The languages gets cursed because of what they were doing, and they took that belief system all over the world, and so it's the same belief system, but the names were changed to protect the guilty. The names were changed, different languages. So in one place, you could be worshiping Tammuz, and in another place you're worshiping Cupid, or you're worshiping. There's all the different names of the false gods, or Astarte, or I forget all the names of the false gods. So the fall of religious Babylon. And then in chapter 18 is the fall of political Babylon. So chapters 17 and 18 is the fall of Babylon. And you know that the devil, from Nimrod all the way till, from Genesis chapter 3 to Genesis chapter 11, it's all been about one world system run by the devil. That's what he's always been trying for. He tried to exalt himself above the stars of God, making himself like the Most High. And so you see during the tribulation period, there's going to be a one world system. And I close with this, and I remembered, and this is the point I want to make this morning, that the world is already gearing up for the end times. That's why right now they already have the system in place for the mark of the beast. And they could be testing it out upon those that they're segregating between the vax and non-vax. Now, the vax is not the mark of the beast. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying they'll have the system in place to be able to segregate people. And then it can be a mark later. It's going to be a mark and a number, and the people that take it they are going to know that they're taking it. It's a choice. So I'm not trying to say that, like some people believe, the devil's going to try to trick people into taking it, and that's why they're so stressed out about stuff like this. But that ain't going to be the case. And by the way, the rapture is going to have already taken place. I believe that. So this is not the mark of the beast in the vaccine, but it is a preparation. They're preparing. Right now, they're already dealing with numbers and chips and things like that in the computer age. Then also, right now, do you know there's only about 3 to 5% of all the actual money in the world that's tangible? The rest is just numbers. And already they're saying that there's a lot of germs on the money, right? So they're going to say at some point, get rid of all the money. Cashless society. We talked about that when we were younger for years and years ago, right? And now we see it happening. Now there's talks of another stimulus. How many stimuluses they've already done? The dollar's getting weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker. And of course, everybody, should have a stimulus. Yeah, we want more stimulus. And the dollar just keeps getting weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker. Pretty soon. Do you know how much debt we're in right now? It's like numbers are so big. How many trillions of dollars is our country in debt? You know what's going to happen? They're going to say, you know what? We got so much debt, so much money to this place and to that place, and these people that, let's just forget all of it. Let's just cancel it. Yeah, time for the Jubilee. Let's just cancel all the debts and go to start all over. Let's just hit a reset button and go to a cashless society. This is already in motion. You see the global system. In fact, they're already gearing up and saying by the year 2030, they already know for certain that at that point, we don't know how long it's going to take. They don't know how long it's going to take, but they're ready that at least by that time, we'll be under one world system. There'll be one world ruler, and there's going to be one world religion, and there's going to be one world currency. That's what's going to happen during the tribulation period. They're preparing for it as we speak. The Catholic Church, the Pope that's the Pope now, is saying some odd things. He's basically saying to Islam, to the Muslims, hey, just don't blow people up and stuff. Just don't be involved with the terrorism stuff. Just love your neighbor. Be good, and you can come with us. It's all good. We serve God. You serve, what's that? Allah. Just different name. It's all good. To the LGBTQRSTUVWXYZ crowd, hey, you know what? Just, everyone's the same. We just get kind of little bit differences, we got Adam Eve, you got Adam Steve. It's little, just, and it just bringing everybody. And they're saying to all the Protestant, all the ones that left the mother church, come back to mama. We welcome you in open arms. And it's got one world religion, religious Babylon. Come on back to mama, out of Rome. You see how they're preparing? They're getting everything ready. One world system. Do you know they're globalists now? Why did so many people hate Trump, President Trump? Because he's a nationalist. The globalists hate the nationalist. And the last few presidents that we have had have all been globalists. President Obama, President Bush, President Clinton, the other President Bush. They were all globalists. Trump was the only nationalist. And all these other countries they're all globalists too. Benjamin Netanyahu, he was a nationalist. They ousted him already. Now there's no nationalists out there. You see, they're preparing this one world government. That's why they want open borders. It doesn't make any sense at all to be so strict with us, right? And yet just let people come across the borders and then try to say if you're against it, then you're racist. And yet around their houses, they got walls and gates and borders and bars, but the country, there's no protection. Why? It's by design. The last few presidents, the things that they did in the Middle East is very odd. They ousted, what's that guy's name again? Saddam Hussein? Yeah, he might have been a crazy guy in a lot of ways, but he kept things orderly in some ways. But once these guys all got ousted, the ones that taken over, globalists. Do you think this was an accident, getting out of Afghanistan? You think they thought, you know what, maybe we should have left the military in there until we got everybody out. Maybe we shouldn't have left all this billions of dollars worth of stuff. This wasn't an accident. This was by design. You see China already moving in, get all the lithium out. This is people that are trying to weaken our country, globalists, and so that if the United States is strong, they're not going to be able to do what they want to do. So the United States got to be. What I'm saying is they're already preparing. Are we preparing too? They believe that Jesus is coming. They believe that the end times is upon us. The world, the devil knows all this stuff. He doesn't know the day or the hour, but he's ready and he's getting his people in position. And Jesus Christ, our Lord, is trying to get us in position. But what are we doing? Slaying zombies on our binging out on Netflix. Yeah, guilty. The things start right away, like, it started. You got to you got to end it in the middle. You cannot wait till the end. You don't have that much discipline. You got to end the movie in the middle. Okay? That's my advice to us. Are we getting ready? Prayer meeting's coming. We should go to it. Phone calls, call your brothers and sisters, call your friends and neighbors, call your people who used to be around. Get people back. And if they're not willing to come, tell them, watch them on the line, and then say, let's talk about it afterwards. Or can I come by and show you? We got to do something to prepare. They are. We got it too. All right? Any questions? The chronology. Get the chronology. Get the commentary. All you got to do is know what's on those chapters. And if you got the chronology, you know the flow already. And then these commentaries is going to explain some things that happened during the commentary, chapter 12 tells you a little bit about the fall of the devil that helps you understand chapter 9, right? So it works like that. All right. Did you bow your heads and close your eyes?